All right, Merry Christmas to you, dear listeners and subscribers from all over the world. I hope you had a wonderful celebration, or better still, I hope you are having a wonderful and fun-filled celebration of love and grace. This is yet another episode of The Truth with Ben Jokes, your favorite political talk show. Of course, there is no gainsaying that for most Nigerians, this is the worst Christmas ever. Live chickens sold for between 25 to 30,000 naira across the country. What a tragedy. This report here says vegetable oil price rise from 46,000 naira to 90,000 naira. Lagos traders, customers grumble as the price of rice is soaring. Price of oil and other items are following up, and this is just a proof that 2025 is going to be a total disaster for low and medium income earners in Nigeria. And few hours ago, the TINUBU regime showed us that it is not only hunger and poverty that they are going to, hit Nigerians with. Report broke out that Boko Haram have responded to TINUBU's claim to be succeeding in the area of security by attacking a Nigerian army base with drones. But just as Nigerians were reacting to that, a report that sent shock across the nation dropped. We just established that Boko Haram targeted Nigerian army base using their drones, and they were accurate. They hit the Nigerian army base, but the Nigerian Air Force targeted Lakurawa, the new terrorist group, but ended up bombing two communities, and they claimed that it was a mistake, that they actually intended to hit Lakurawa, the same terrorist group that the Minister of Defense Matawale claimed had been eliminated from this country. Before I show you details of these top stories, let me quickly show you these videos. The first video here contains the perfect response to Tinubu and his cabinet members who keep saying that CNG cars, compressed natural gas cars, are alternatives to the high cost of petrol in Nigeria. Check out this response.
And I think, you see, the issue is not about the decision that the president took. This is not even the issue during this debate yesterday. It is about how he feels about the decision that he took and how it has impacted Nigerians. People will tell you that Nigerians are struggling, that things are difficult. But I think one should even, it's beyond things being difficult for Nigerians. Nigerians are fighting for their survival. Their lives are at stake. A lot of them cannot carry out meaningful social existence. So it's not just about things being difficult. And the president, I think, was expected to understand the level, the depth, the gravity of what Nigerians are going through. And it appears like, it's like, again, the analogy I gave about the father in the home. He goes and buys a new car. And yet he has expressed, he has said he had to take a decision, and then he forgets that the children's school fees have not been paid, and the children are watching. So Nigerians are watching, and they are looking at their father, who in this case, metaphorically speaking, is the president of the country also. So you look at so many things, and I think what Nigerians want to do is to see their leaders also acknowledging the fact that things are difficult and so on, but also depriving themselves of certain things too. It is when that happens that you also realize that they are really feeling it. I will give you an instance, and maybe they've not thought about it. The issue of CNG gas. It's important. I mean, it's a good thing. It's one of the things that the government, in order to cut down on the cost of fuel, for instance, it will cut it down, reduce it by as much as maybe 60%. Now you know how that would affect the economy really in terms of the prices of goods and all that, especially if you can, have that across the country, many vehicles having access to, CNG. But the question I want to ask, and maybe people have not thought about it, you would expect if you want to lead, you lead by example. We want the president to ride in a car using CNG. The governors, the ministers, It has not occurred to anybody. I'm not sure. When the Chinese were trying to develop, and they had, of course, in those days, it took about 40 years to get to where they are today. But sacrifices were being made by the leadership, using made in China at every turn, as much as possible. When people see the leaders, immerse themselves in those things that the people, do, more or less, the people tend to have more sympathy. When the leader says, we want you to do this, they know that this is a leader that leads by example. So perhaps it has not occurred to the governors and the ministers and the commissioners and all that. Perhaps when it occurs to them, then they will give us the news that virtually all the vehicles they are using CNG gases.
You heard that. Perfect response. Only a delusional and sick human being will take members of this administration seriously. All over the world where reforms have taken place, from Singapore to China, the people championing the reforms have always led by example. This one is talking about cutting down costs. People should, cut down their lifestyles. But you have the biggest cabinet ever in the history of Nigeria. You are talking about people using CNG gases, but you are buying different cars, petrol-using cars. How have you shown example? You are squandering money on frivolities. Look at the budget you submitted. A budget for the elite, where people are still saying they are going to buy photocopiers with 15 million naira. And you are telling Nigerians to cut down on their expenses, to cut down on feeding. It's such a disaster. And the next video here is that of Kenneth Okonkwo, just Kenneth being him. See the video.
At the time, you also mentioned, the president's stand on the cabinet reduction.
Oh, yes.
Because that was one of the conversations that was had. I think it was Mr. Babajide Titoju who asked him yesterday, how are you going to reduce cost of governance? This cabinet is one of the biggest. I know you've done some reductions before. Are you going to reduce it a little bit more? And he said no.
First of all, he never did any reduction. He had 48 ministers coming in. When he removed 5, he replaced it with 7. So the issue here is that, like I told you, there is a president that is living in alternate universe. He said we must learn to live within our means. We should not be spending more than we are producing. How can a government in a capitalist economy think about bloating cabinet as the explanation for efficiency?
Well, he says they're performing optimally. Those were his words.
Good.
They're performing optimally. Everyone there.
Good. That is where I hold the journalist that interrogated him very responsible. Because when he said that, he even dared them to give him an example of one minister that is not performing. And I just told you about a minister. We've had 12 national grid collapse. In 12 months, it has never happened. If that is performance, then it is regrettable. Now, the issue about cost of governance. In a capitalist nation, a minister's role is more of regulatory because he doesn't go there to do it. There is private ownership to means of production. What are you doing with 3 ministers in agriculture alone? And people are dying because of food. You have just bloated the bureaucracy, spending money on people that are doing nothing. What are you doing with about 16 ministers of state? That is assistant to minister. And you're giving them the largesse
They won't agree with you.
of a minister. I am saying it.
They won't agree with you
Because
on that.
minister of state means that there is a substantive minister. That's the only reason you say minister of state.
You heard that. And we can go on and on talking about the incompetence and inefficiencies of the TINUBU administration, which is not as a result of them not knowing what to do alone. There is also the will to see Nigerians suffer. The APC and TINUBU have an evil will to see this country and her citizens brought to their knees. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that update on how Boko Haram responded to Tinubu's claim that the country had improved in the area of security. They responded by hitting a Nigerian army base using their drones. And the next update actually conflicts this one. While terrorists are targeting Nigerian army base and they are accurately hitting the Nigerian army base, the Nigerian Air Force targeted Lakurawa, the new terrorist group, but they ended up hitting communities in Sokoto State. What a tragedy. The same Lakurawa that they claimed that they had defeated. Let's start by taking that update from the Nigerian army base. Look at how the papers reported it. Exclusive. Boko Haram terrorists bombed Nigerian army base with drones in Borno on Christmas Eve. Injure many soldiers. Sahara reporters. At least 6 soldiers have been confirmed injured after a drone strike by suspected terrorists on a military base in Borno State. Sahara reporters gathered that the terrorists attacked the forward operating base in Wajiroko in the Damboa local government area on Tuesday afternoon. A soldier who witnessed the incident said they heard what sounded like a jet followed by a huge explosion. He added that the terrorists had initially attacked the base, shooting sporadically, but were repelled by the troops. A military signal obtained by Sahara reporters confirmed the incidents. The signal added that a gun truck belonging to the army was damaged after the terrorists used multiple drones to attack the base. It read, at about 2313008 December 24, terrorists launched attack using MOR and other firearms on the TPS at forward operating base Wajikoro in Damboa local government area. Troops repelled the attack, forcing terrorists to waver in disarray. Shortly after, at about 2313238 December 24, forward operating base Wajikoro came under another attack using multiple armed drones carrying locally fabricated grenade, TPS OBSN, up to 4 different armed drones. Casualties received first aid, awaiting evacuation to 25 BDEFD AMB for further medical attention. Nigeria has been battling with the insurgents in the northeast region for barely 2 decades now. The terror group has caused over 100,000 deaths and displaced millions of individuals, mainly in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe states. You heard that. It's such a pity that terrorists attacking Nigerian army base has now become a regular occurrence under the APC. And instead of the APC government to take this seriously, they prefer to lie that they have defeated insurgency. 1 week ago, the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu said Lakurawa, the new terrorist group, had been defeated. And 3 days ago, Minister of Defense Metawale said this same terrorist group, Lakurawa, are no longer in Nigeria. But in this next update, we can confirm that they were lying. The Nigerian Air Force, while explaining the tragedy that took place in Sokoto State, said they were going after this same Lakurawa. Look at how the papers reported it. Breaking: fighter jet targeted at Lakurawa bombs Sokoto communities. A Nigerian military fighter jet targeted at Lakurawa terrorist group has reportedly killed several villagers and injured many others in 2 communities in Silame local government area of Sokoto State. The affected communities, Gidan Sama and Rumtuwa, were struck around 7 a.m. on Wednesday, according to local sources, Daily Trust reports. A resident of Silame, who gave his name as Malam Yaya, noted that the 2 villages were located close to Surame Forest, identified as another hideout of Lakurawa and bandits. Another source told Daily Trust that over 10 villagers were killed and several others sustained varying degrees of injury during the airstrike. The chairman of Silame local government area, Alhaji Abubakar Muhammad Daftarana, however, confirmed the attack, saying they were still assessing the level of damage caused by the airstrike. The villagers were sitting peacefully when the bomb started dropping on the communities. Oh, There were innocent and peace-loving people who had no criminal record. It was early for me to confirm the number of people either killed or injured because we are still assessing the development, he said. When contacted, the spokesman of the Sokoto State Police Command, ASP Ahmad Rufai, declined comment on the matter, saying it was not the police operation. That is it. They will decline comment on the matter. They will hide the actual number of casualties because they have no truth in them. When they tell you 10 died, just know that about 100 have died. But even the loss of one life in this manner is an atrocity, something that should not be heard of in any nation. That people are sitting down quietly on Christmas Day peacefully, and the government of their own country begins dropping bombs on them and takes them out. And when I put the whole blame on TINUBU, no one should say it is harsh judgment. This is the third time the Nigerian Air Force would bomb innocent Nigerians and call it an accident. This is the third time in TINUBU regime. And TINUBU has not held anyone responsible, yet you claim to be the commander-in-chief of armed forces. So why should we not put the whole blame on you? And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. And this tweet here says, again, now wow, I thought Matawale said Lakurawa are no longer in Nigeria. That was what he said. That was the lie he told. But look at what we are saying now. And Aliyu Lawali here says, this is the third time they made such a mistake in 18 months. This is the third time. And nobody has been held responsible. This tweet here by Raymond says, this is becoming too frequent. Could this be unprofessionalism or deliberate? This is obviously beyond mistake. Collateral damage, they will call it. For that, nobody will be punished. It is just so sad that the life of an ordinary Nigerian doesn't matter to the government. That is the truth. And I just pity Northerners. Muslim ticket, they were jumping up and down. Now look at what they are getting in return. Their lives being taken, and even their source of income. They are about to block it with the tax reform bills. And this tweet by Abdul Salam says, this only happens in the north. Every time unusual excuses are made, but this will not reduce our population. Let them know this and have peace. Abdul Salam here is claiming that the south, particularly TINUBU, is trying to reduce the population of northern Nigeria. Is that true? We never can tell. And Happy Love here says, why are they always making this mistake every single time? What is the value of a Nigerian's life? As little as can be. Believe here says, I thought the FG said they have defeated them. Government of propaganda. This one is talking directly to Ribadu and the Minister of Defense, who said they had defeated Lakurawa. And Adedayo Adegboye here says, I thought someone said Lakurawa sect have been wiped out. That is it. Just lying to Nigerians instead of doing the needful. And there is something that these terrorists do. Every time the government comes out to say that they have technically defeated them, or they have suppressed them, or they have done anything, anytime they come out and try to claim any vain glory against these terrorists, they will strike. And when they strike, they will strike hard for the whole country to shake. They attacked a military base. Finished soldiers. You will not hear the truth. They will not tell you the truth. They will just say there were a few casualties and that's all. And these young men that are still joining the Nigerian army, I don't know whether to commend them or to reprimand them. Because they said people have been taken to hospitals now. I bet you many of them will be abandoned there. They will not give them the relevant care. They are owing them allowances. Several complaints everywhere. A country that claims that it is fighting insurgency. Their welfare should be paramount. It should be number one. But they have been neglected under the APC. But this is the APC. I'm not surprised. They have come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And that is why I keep telling Nigerians that for us to have a country at all in the near future, we must come together, put our sentiments aside, and kick the APC out of power. But until then, make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news. Where una go like? Why? Because of una. Now I dey here. So go away and enjoy your Christmas celebration. See you again on Boxing Day.